Lord be with you.
And with your spirit.
A reading from the Holy Gospel according to Matthew.
Glory to you, O Lord.
Jesus went up the mountain and was joined by his disciples. Then he began to teach them, "You are the salt of the earth. But if salt has lost its taste, how can its saltiness be restored? It is then no longer good for anything, but is thrown out and trampled underfoot. You are the light of the world. A city on a hill cannot be hidden. No one, after lighting a lamp, puts it under a bushel basket, but on a lampstand, and it gives light to all in the house. In the same way, let your light shine before others, so that they may see your good works and give glory to your Father in heaven." The Gospel of the Lord.
Praise to you, Lord Jesus Christ. Do you ever notice when you pick up the Gospels and read them, and especially when you pray over them, how Jesus challenges us? We heard it last Sunday, particularly with regard to the Beatitudes. And they are kind of the, what you would call one way to find out what kind of Christian you are, the Beatitudes. And you notice particularly at the end of the Beatitudes, because one of the last ones is, where Jesus even makes it more personal. He says, when you are persecuted, you're supposed to rejoice, be happy, be glad. And here, in the gospel today, we have Jesus again challenging us to be the salt of the earth, the light of the world. That's the challenge. Salt, as you know, goes all the way back to Romania, where they had these salt mines 8,000 years ago. Salt is used for various purposes. We know that it's very important sometimes for food to be salted. I really don't like to hear people say they are on a salt-free diet, because so often what happens then, the food is rather bland. We use salt on our roads, don't we? We salt the roads because of ice and snow. We salt also planes when they're ready to take off, especially in wintertime. I remember sitting next to the window area when they were doing this to the plane that was on, and I said to myself, oh, I hope they do a good job. When you go to the Holy Land, which maybe some of you have done, you go to this place called the Dead Sea. The Dead Sea is one of the richest seas in the world. There's lots of minerals in that Dead Sea, and it has lots of salt. It's impossible for you. Impossible. You can't drown in the Dead Sea because of all the salt. So if you want to learn how to swim, that's the place to go. Salt is used in various ways. I remember as a kid, we used to cure pork. We had this great big vat. We'd pour the water in, then we poured the salt in, and kept on pouring the salt in, and kept on pouring the salt in. And once we knew where it was enough to cure the salt, was when you could float an egg on it. Then you knew you had enough. So what the salt does in the process of curing the pork is it draws out the water that's in the pork. And that's the way it's cured. I think it's such a powerful image of what Jesus did throughout his life. That when he came in contact with sinners, what did he do? He drew out their goodness. He did it to Zacchaeus, perched up in that sycamore tree. He says, come on down, Zacchaeus, I'm going to dine with you. And to dine with someone at that particular time meant that there was a close, intimate relationship. And that's the reason why the people responded the way they did. They said, here's this holy man dining with this sinner. But look what happens to Zacchaeus. He converts. And not only Zacchaeus, but his whole family. Or the woman at the well drew the goodness out of her, even though she was married, 5 times. She goes out and spreads the good news. See, that's the power that's there. That's the power that's there. And Jesus also goes on to say then that you, see, that's why it's so important, that you, each one of you here this morning, is the salt of the earth. You are the light of the world. And we know how important light is. And that's why we heard this morning, especially in that first reading from Isaiah, how he points out that Jesus was going to be that light to dispel the darkness. And that's our responsibility, to follow in the footsteps of Jesus, because he gives us that challenge to say, you are that light. You have to be able to dispel the darkness that's there in the world today. And we see so much of that today, particularly with all the division and the hatred that's there, that we have to somehow say, how am I going to respond to that? And that's why I'm so uplifted when I see individuals marching and protest, non-violent marches. Individuals who are willing to do that. Individuals who are willing to call up their Congress people, because we find out now that their calls are ringing off the hook, because the people understand their responsibility to do something. And I think that's so important for us to be able to say, yes, if I see some injustice then in our society, I have to do something, because I have to be able to dispel the darkness that's there, no matter what it is. We have to be able to do that, respond in that way. Cardinal Zippich of Chicago says that this particular area now that we're going through, especially with these executive orders, is very a dark period in our history. Bishop McElroy of San Diego says it's a very shameful process that we're going through at the present time, to reject the Muslims, to reject our refugees and immigrants. We have to be able to stand up and say, yes, if I'm a Catholic today, if I'm going to follow in the footsteps of Jesus, I have to be able to embrace then this challenge that he gives each one of you, and be able to say, no, I'm not going to allow that to happen in our society. What kind of a nation do we want? A nation of power, of success? What kind of a nation do we want? Or a nation of freedom? A nation of justice? A nation of peace? Remember when Pope Francis addressed the Congress? Remember what he said? Look to Abraham Lincoln. He is the man of freedom. Look to Dorothy Day. She is the woman of justice. Look to Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. He is the individual that sponsored and spearheaded equality. And look to Thomas Merton. He is the individual of spirituality, which we need in our society today, to be spiritual people, to accept this challenge that Jesus gives us when he says, you are the salt of the earth. You are the light of the world. Can we accept that challenge?